Okay, you're all set.
All set? Okay, so let's call the meeting to order. It's now 5:02. So we have a quorum. Our board is here. Chris, do you have a quorum?
I do, and I will call our meeting to order as well.
Very good. This time I'd like to have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Ross, you're gonna read from the, Doug, you're gonna read from the,
First of all, I'm going to read my public participation form.
Okay.
Okay. So, under public participation, we're going to read this form because we do have public participation. So, this portion of the meeting is allowed to allow the public to inform the board regarding their concerns. During the Board of Selectmen meetings, closed to in-person public participation, persons interested in addressing the board shall do so by submitting written comments to the town manager no later than noon on the day of the board meeting. Comments received will be distributed to the board and read out loud. Please be advised that individuals addressing concerns will be placed on the board's next regular meeting agenda, unless the issue addressed is one of an emergency nature. The chairperson or acting chairperson will use his or her discretion as to whether action or any particular issues should be taken at this meeting. Items regarding personal issues or town employees cannot be discussed in open sessions. Our board meetings can be viewed at www.townofmadawaska.com or www.St. John Valley Live. Again, in order to not have the Finance Committee sitting there waiting for us to get through our regular articles, we're going to go right to the Finance Committee budget. And we'll come back and issue the other articles at that point. So again, Article 1, to consider the first draft of the Town of Madawaska's municipal budget. There's one thing I'd like to read off here before we get started. Before we start our meeting, I'd like to go over a few items so that we have a smooth meeting, that everyone can have a chance to speak without interruptions that can easily happen on Zoom. First, I would ask that everyone mute their microphones until you need to speak, at which point you can unmute your microphone. We ask that whenever possible you use the chat button featured to let us know you'd like to speak. That way we can call upon you in order. If you're having issues with the chat feature, just unmute and speak, and your voice will take the lead in the Zoom meeting. Our goal for everyone is to have time to speak without an awkward interruptions that can sometimes happen in a Zoom.
all right, so I'll kind of kick it off with basically looking at the expense budget summary. We provided you two departments, intergovernmental department 710 and social services expense department 720 with a recap, a summary, expense budget summary right now. That's showing, if you look in the column before last, once you factor in revenues and expenses, a net decrease in our budget of $110,400. And that includes increases for the county budget as well. So right now we're looking at a net. Of course, there are other things that we'll be working on. We still have some updates to put in, so that number is still fluid. It's not set in stone. With that being said, I think what we'd like to do is, do we have the chamber here on this? I don't see the chamber on right now. So what I'll do, I was gonna bring up the intergovernmental budget and have the Chamber of Commerce talk about their budget request, because that's where their budget request is. It's in intergovernmental and not the social service budget. So I'm gonna skip to Department 720, and we have a handful of people from different organizations that are on with us tonight to present their requests and to answer any questions that we may have of them. So what I'd like to do, I think that we'll first start with, let's start with Frances Gendreau. And she has a request for the Madawaska Historical Society for $9,000. Frances has provided us her request letter, and that was all forwarded to you guys last week. So Frances, with that said, right now you're muted, so you'll have to unmute your microphone to speak.
Yeah, Gary, excuse me, I didn't get that letter or that request, or did Natalie send it to me?
There was a whole packet of,
Should be in Dan's packet.
there's a whole packet of social services requests that was emailed to the Finance Committee.
Oh, that's with all the departments there?
Yeah, should be in
Is that
there,
what-
yes.
Okay, which one are we looking at?
Right now, we have Frances Gendreau.
Gary?
Yep.
Gary?
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, so tell Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can Gary hear me? He's muted
Yes.
probably, or
no,
he's...
I'm all set.
Okay, you can hear me, okay? It's dated February 22. At the top, it's written February 22.
Well, I don't have that.
Okay.
But, that's fine, I'll just listen and I'll get a copy.
Well, where are you? Can you receive an email right now?
Yeah,
Nat's gonna go
I
check.
can send it to you by email.
that's fine, Gary J. Dufour at Gmail.
Okay, Gary
Gary J.
J.
Yeah,
J. Dufour
at Gmail.
at Gmail.
Email.
Yeah, Gmail. Yeah, hold on.
World of technology.
Well, I'm trying. Okay, hold on.
Francis, you also have that. You have that letter too, and you can read it if you want, and everybody will hear it too.
Well, I can, but I'll send it to Gary there.
I just sent it to Gary. You should receive it in a second.
Oh, you did send it?
Yeah. It came in an email from Natalie on the 1st of April, Gary, but I just sent it to you again at that email address.
Okay. Well, you can move on if I get it fine. What, we got it on the 1st of April?
He just sent you, Chris just sent you a copy there, Gary. Should be in your email.
Okay.
She can continue, I'll find it April 1st.
All right, friends. So you can go ahead and talk about the Historical Society and the nature of your request. And if people have questions,
Okay.
they can chime in and ask.
Well, yeah, I had tried. Okay, am I coming through?
Yep.
Yes, you're coming through, Fran.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I had tried to enumerate or to write some of the things. I can't put down everything that's been done since last year at this time. So basically, it's half of the roof of the Albert House. The trees have been trimmed by marquee trimming. There's a rodent and beetle issue that's being addressed. There was a plot of grass that needed to be fixed down by the cross. That's been done. We had COVID signs put up. The flags, the U.S. flag and the Acadian flag has been replaced. And we deal with the siding every year. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. So what you guys had done last year, you had, put us on a UDAD loan.
Mhm.
So that worked very well for us because we were able to do the work and then we paid back the UDAD loan. The UDAD loan has been paid in full. I don't know if you have any questions from there. There's a lot that needs to be done. The other half of the Albert House, the jacks are there, the tarps are there. That's, the second half is going to be done and pretty soon. The gazebo is falling off its blocks. The caulking and the paint are peeling off the actual museum. There's an unfinished ramp that's dangerous by the schoolhouse. We're gonna need to reinstall the Albert House. And up till a couple weeks ago, we thought we would not be opening this summer. But the Maine Acadian Heritage Council, through the National Park Service, has informed us that we're going to open next summer. So we will be opening right around June 14.
Okay, so anybody have any questions for Fran?
No, maybe I've got something here. Fran? Fran?
Yes?
So,
Yeah,
so the
yes.
Albert House right now is, you're looking for repairs for the other half of the roof. So is the roof leaking today?
Yes, what we did, there are holes in the roof. What we did, we went in with a can of that spray foam, that stuff that expands. We went on the inside and we plugged the holes for the winter.
Good. Anybody else have any questions?
With that, it's a temporary fix.
Yes, I understand. I don't see any other questions here for Fran. Is everybody all set? All right. Okay, Gary.
Okay, so I've got somebody who's having a hard time to get into the meeting, so can you give me 1 second? And I
Yep.
can send back another link.
Again, we're just waiting for a minute here because we're trying to send a link to one of the individuals trying to get into the meeting. It'll be just a minute.
So,
Okay.
so in the meantime,
Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
I can hear you, Fran. Go ahead.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so in the meantime, toward the end of the letter, that's an estimated cost of what we would be looking for. We need to get this place back onto up and running. The mass has been scheduled. The mass will be June 27. I'm not sure at all about the reenactment because of the situation with Canada. That's usually a joint effort with the people from the reserve out there, and also I'm not sure how we can be on the river in boats at this time. I don't know how customs and everybody else will react to that. So we may hold it back to just the mass for this year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so, thank you, Fran, for that, for that narrative for the board and the finance committee. The next thing I'd like to do, Sharon from the chamber has been able to get on. So let's like to jump back to the intergovernmental expense. And we can go there. And what I'll do is, I think if it works for everybody, what we could do is take care of everybody who's presenting from either the intergovernmental and social services. So we'll be jumping around on each of these budgets. And once they're done, we can, they can be on their way if they don't want to stick around. And then we can go line by line over those other items in those budgets. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes, I'm fine with that. Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm fine.
Sharon, can you hear
Yeah.
us? Sharon? Sharon, can you hear us? I think we're having some issues with Sharon still. All right, so while we're waiting for Sharon, we'll go back to social services again. And the next person in the waiting room that we'll bring on here, hold on. We can have, why don't we have Jason Parent from ACAP. Jason, can you hear us?
I can.
All
Can you
right.
hear me?
Thank you, Jason. So Jason,
Oh, thank you. Gary,
go ahead.
I did try to send you a message in the chat to see if you could allow me to share screen, so I could share screen for my presentation if that's possible. I don't know if that is possible or not.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can. Jason, would I do that? Multiple participants can share?
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, you should be able to grab
I
that.
can now. Well, first, let me say good evening to you all. Thank you for letting me be with you this evening. I'll try not to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to give you a little idea of how we served your community in this past year, and as an indicator of the service that we will be able to do in throughout 2021 with you. And quite frankly, it's really beyond that, because there's a number of new programs as a result of the pandemic that we've been able to stand up in relatively short order that we anticipate will continue through at least 2021, if not into 2022. So first, I wanted to share with you, as I always do, the number of households that we were able to serve, or the number of occasions we were able to serve households in your community the last year. This is including the St. David area. Just over 1,200 households that we were able to connect with, and I'll walk you through some of the ways that we were able to do that. In addition to that, if you look at the dollars that we invested
Upon
based
those
upon
service
those
incidents.
it's over $500,000 of investment of the federal dollars and state dollars that are contracted to us, that are directly allocated to the community of Madawaska. So in terms of a return on investment on the funds that you provide us with, it's a significant return. I will say that your investment in our agency and all of the municipalities' investment in our agency is a critical component for us to be able to draw these federal and state dollars down. Most of them require matches or demonstration of local commitment and buy-in to our work, and so this is very critical to our ability to advance our work in communities across Aroostook County. In the area of households and how we were able to serve households specifically, the top program and the largest program, or the largest number of individuals that we serve, or households that we serve in Madawaska, is through the Home Energy Assistance Program, which is obviously a vital link for a number of seniors in the community, as well as families with children and individuals who qualify economically. We actually had someone from Madawaska who drove down a couple of senior citizens to this office last July. Our office was still shut down, and we actually visited with them on a picnic table out in back of our office here in Presque Isle. They had never applied for the HEAP program before, and both were struggling. And both qualified, and we got them their first HEAP allocation in July, and they've since been able to come back qualified for last year's program. And we were able to get them both in. Both of them were widows that lived in the community on very meager incomes and were very much trying to make ends meet, but obviously were helped through this challenge. In addition to that, one of the things that I think is important is our ability to work in partnership and closely with general assistance in communities across Aroostook County. You'll note here at the bottom of this list that we were able to provide 14 households in your community that were not otherwise eligible for federal or state programs to get assistance for emergency needs, including food, shelter, or fuel assistance that is not through the fuel assistance program, because for whatever reason they weren't able to qualify at that particular time. But that is another way that we're able to support individuals in your household. And then also note that in 2020, between October 1st, 2019 and September 30th, 2020, in that federal fiscal year, we were able to work in 19 households on preparing or repairing, I should say, or replacing heating systems that were malfunctioning, that were causing low-income households a challenge in your community. Beyond that, I would also note that we work with youth very intently in the community. We were able to work with 80 families with young children through our WIC program to provide them with vouchers that they redeem at your local grocery stores for fruits, vegetables, dairy, whole grain products. These are especially beneficial to families with preschool-age children, and the income qualifications are more generous in this particular category. So we actually do have our WIC team under normal circumstances that meet right there with households in the central St. John Valley in our Madawaska office. Again, when it's prudent to do so. Doing all at a distance. All HEAP and WIC appointments have been at a distance for a period of time, but we're preparing to re-engage in the summer and fall with people directly in the community. The other area where I wanted to note as well is the work that we do in schools and with families. We do provide dental sealants at no cost through our oral health program to all public elementary schools in Aroostook County. So in Madawaska, there were 140 youth in 2020 who received free dental sealants or other dental services. 51 received other dental services beyond the dental sealants, I should say. And then we also, through our Let's Go program, we're able to engage youth across the community through your public schools in activities to encourage healthy behavior and reduce childhood obesity as part of our prevention programs. In terms of areas where we're able to serve adults, a lot of this is through workforce development. I will note that we currently, and we're having a really difficult time, we are expanding our coaching services up in Madawaska, which will allow us to serve more individuals. We've had a family coach position based in Madawaska that's been open for a period of time. And we're hoping to find just the right candidate so that we can have that person working with community members. And we're also looking to have our workforce development staff. We're hiring a new career counselor that will work a couple of days a week out of our Madawaska office. So hopefully next year at this time, I'll have higher numbers to report in terms of individuals we were able to help with workforce development in the Madawaska community. The other area, some things that we were able to do collectively, we don't have specific town data on this, but to help individuals in the healthcare marketplace. I know that there were Madawaska residents that were helped in navigating the health insurance marketplace. We were able to do tobacco cessation with folks, replacing some oil tanks in communities across Aroostook County. I think that the most impressive work that we've been able to do, obviously, over the last year has been related directly to the COVID-19 pandemic. We supported over 100 households with job loss through HEAP, in addition to what we typically do. We have been operating a rental assistance program, one variation or another, since April of last year. The current version that we're engaged in right now through the more recent Recovery Act plan is one that's allowing us to also provide utilities and to go back and to provide some arrears. So we are working with folks in Madawaska to provide rental assistance, and it actually goes directly to the landlord. The landlords have to cooperatively agree, and they actually receive the payment. We also have been offering a temporary overflow shelter for homeless individuals. For a couple of periods during the pandemic, we operated one at the University of Maine at Presque Isle last spring between April and the end of June. And then Maine Housing called on us again to do one that we're doing at a local hotel when there's no room at the other shelter. And we currently have 14 residents in that shelter right now. And it's set to close on April 30th, but we have been told that the need is there and it may continue moving forward. We also provided over 196 households countywide with funding through the Emergency Food and Shelter Cares Act that was administered locally by the United Way, distributed dental kits to over 4,000 children. And we did provide over 100,000 meals that we prepared and delivered to families with young children throughout Aroostook County, including families in Madawaska. We do bus children from Madawaska to our Fort Kent Center who are qualified for the Head Start program on a daily basis. And so there were Madawaska families receiving meals as well throughout this pandemic. So that's some of the ways that we have served the community of Madawaska in 2020. And as I indicated, this year and moving forward, there are a number of programs that we're working on. We anticipate the weatherization program, which does home weatherizations, the home repair program. All of those programs are going to see additional funding, and we're hoping to serve more households across the region and in your community. I'm happy to take any questions. And I want to just say again, thank you for your continued support. We very much value our relationship with the town of Madawaska, and we are hoping, we have not had as active a presence in our office there, but we're hoping that, as I noted, we're going to hopefully hire a coach really soon that will be working directly out of that office, and a workforce development coordinator that will be up there in addition to the HEAP, the Home Energy Assistance Program, and the WIC intake that we actually do physically out of that office when we're able to see clients in person.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Jason? If not, Jason, thanks for taking some time.
One question.
Oh, go ahead.
Aroostook County Action Program, so he's only seeking $807. Is that what he's seeking?
That's correct, Gary. We base our appropriation on 20 cents per capita for every person on the most recent census. So the census, the decennial census, so the last census that we base that on is 2010. When the 2020 decennial census comes out, we'll be reassessing. Obviously, we have a population loss in that period of time. I anticipate we will be increasing our per capita amount so that we can keep that amount relatively flat. But our request is based upon the community's population and our assessment of 20 cents per capita on that population assessment.
Well, I think, Jason, our return of investment is pretty substantial for what you're asking from us.
I like to think so, and again, I'm hoping that we can be more. One of our goals as an agency this year is to definitely demonstrate that we are indeed a county-wide organization, and that's a bit hard during a pandemic because we're doing all of these things this way. But appreciate that support, Gary, and appreciate the continued support of the residents and the leadership of Madawaska.
Thank you, Gary. Any other questions for Jason? Jason, I guess we're good to go here. Looks like there are no other questions, so thank you very much for that presentation.
Thank you. Nice seeing some familiar faces this evening. Have a good night.
Take care, Jay.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So the next group I think we'd like to have is the St. John Valley Associates. I'm not sure who's speaking for them today, but I believe they are in the waiting room. We have somebody from St. John Valley Associates.
Okay, my
Verna
name is
Deshane. I am a CFO at St. John Valley Associates. We have been in operation for over 40 years. We offer services and programs to individuals with intellectual disabilities. We offer community and residential services. Currently, we have 9 residents from Madawaska who we do offer services to. Of course, like any other business or agency, we have been really challenged by COVID, where we can't operate on a full basis. So obviously our revenue has been decreased. We're very lucky that we did get grants, but we really appreciate any appropriation that we can get from the towns. And if you have any questions, I can answer them, hopefully.
From our folks out in the Zoom Finance Committee, anybody from our board? Verna, it looks like we're good to go here. I don't see any questions coming up for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you, Verna.
appreciate your time.
So, at this point, the only other group that we have in the social services that's going to be actually speaking to us is Joy Baresi from the Aroostook Area Agency on Aging. I don't think she's in the meeting quite yet. I knew that she had an appointment before. So what I'd like to see is if we can go back to the intergovernmental budget. Sharon is showing that Sharon's in the room. I don't know if she can hear us. Sharon, can you hear us? I'm not able to, and I've been trying to message Sharon on email to get her connected a different way. So unfortunately, it's not looking like it's going to happen. I'm going to try to, in the meantime, what I'll do is I want to see who's in the meeting for participants. See if Joy Baresi has joined us yet. And she's not. So what I'm going to do, I'd like to just kind of start, since we're on social services, we'll go down through the requests line by line. I'll start from the top. The American Legion decorations, $700. It's a request that they put every year. It's been unchanged. Maine and Canadian Heritage Trail, $200.
Can you hear me?
Pardon?
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now, Sharon.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about this. Don't know what the glitch is.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to intergovernmental, and Sharon, yeah, you provided us some information on the chamber's operations and budget and your request. I'm gonna, before I give it off to you, Sharon, I'm gonna just kind of remind everybody of the last budget meeting. We talked about the development codes and assessing budget, and that your request for $15,000. The way that we structured it is we put you back down to $13,200 of appropriation, and the balance of that is going to be paid for out of the developing codes and assessing budget through community development and business development. So that would alleviate some of the concerns that were expressed to us. And so I just wanted to put it out there so we all have an understanding as to why it looks different this year. So with that said, Sharon, it's all yours.
Okay. You want me to hit my spiel? Basically, the chamber has been having, like other businesses, has been having a difficult time this year, but we've been doing everything we can to make sure that our businesses are serviced in our organizations. And what we've been doing a lot more is reaching out to the community as a whole, not only our chamber members, but non-members, to get everybody working together. And I believe I gave you in your packets some testimonials that were given to me by different chamber members and non-members who have enjoyed what the chamber has been doing. We are slow to do some things that we've been wanting to do, such as online advertising, that sort of thing. I'm still working with the computer guys to make sure that that can come to fruition. And that's going to really help us spread the word even better. Other than that, we've increased our membership. We've increased our board. We're working as hard as we can during this time to help all the businesses find ways that they can fund their businesses and learn and grow with their businesses. So I hope you realize that or notice that the chamber is having a positive impact on the town. Any questions? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Sharon, can you just tell me which one of those testimonials are members and which ones are non-members?
Okay, the Corey's, Robert's Jewelry is a member. Reed and Reed is not a member, but I've been working with them because of the bridge work. We've been working with them and trying to get things moving for them here. Let's see, I'm thinking of the Cindy Beaulieu is not a member. She is one of the crafters that approached me. And I'm looking for my list right now. Glenn Daigle, of course, is a member. Okay, and we've got Colin Jandro as a member. Madeline and Yvonne Levac are not members. And Gerald Susie is a member. Does that cover all of them?
Yeah, just Northern Computers. Northern Computers, Vince.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Chris.
Vince with Northern Computers, is he a member also?
Yes, of course, I'm sorry.
That's all I had, thank you.
The last one on your list here, Sharon, was the Grand Isle Historical Society.
Yeah. Yes. Gerald Susie. And I did want to let you guys know that I hope you've noticed that we have tried to cut down on basically unnecessary expenses. Should have spent more money in advertising and everything else. But with the downturn, we had to be really careful with our pennies. So there are some things that I hope to improve on coming, going forward, because I'm pretty sure that this is going to let up and we'll be able to have our fundraising events, which will really help. Last summer, what we did with the fundraising events was not charge people. We wanted to give everybody a chance to participate and be with people and enjoy their downtown without having to put out the money, because everybody was hurting. But this year, we are going to, like our flea market that we're going to do this summer, we are going to charge for that. So we are getting back on track with that. We did clean up the members that we've been carrying, I guess, for a few years that had not been paying. So we did clean that up, but I hope you've noticed that we have gained a lot of new members. So all in all, even during this pandemic, it's been going quite well, but we hope to get back on track.
Gary, maybe you can help me out with this. I remember last year when we went through this budget, we had budgeted an extra 5,000 in their piece of that. I guess we were going to do. There was going to be some programs and stuff that was going to be worked on. I'm just wondering what we did with that 5,000 that we had given last year. What did we get for a return on that one?
Well, it's basically the boost program work that we did and the beautification committee work that we're doing. in conjunction with the town, and other items that we're doing with the community rather than the whole membership.
So Chris, to kind of add to that, so first of all, the boost program was funded through the boost funds and not through the appropriation, but the goal was to have the chamber more involved with the town to help with activities and programs and stuff. We didn't get to be able to do as many programming events because of COVID, but there was a lot of work done with the Fall Fest and planning and some of the, like the flea markets and things like that we've partnered up with the chamber. And of course, there are volunteers that they brought in through the beautification group, but just partly the town, partly the chamber. So we weren't able to do as much programming as we would have liked, obviously, because COVID prevented that from happening, but it's still the mindset that we are going to be moving forward. I want to point out that the reason why we took the $5,000 difference from last year, and it's not, you're not seeing it in the intergovernmental in this request, is because what we're going to do is basically pay for those services as we need them, as opposed to cutting a check through the appropriation. And I think the concern that was expressed by the chamber is that other towns might see the chamber providing services to the town more than those other towns, more for Madawaska than other towns. And that, there was some concern about that would cause some issues. So we decided that we would do in this budget is split that out, and those funds will be paid for through the community development budget. For community development, there's a couple of lines for business and community development, and that's where we would do the difference. And so it would be more on a per diem basis than an actual appropriation. Okay. Lori, I saw you raise your hand.
Go ahead, Lori.
Gary?
Okay, so I only want to, I wasn't going to say anything about what you just said, but I just want to comment on that, because the other towns, I get it, we're supposed to regionalize and work together with each other, but the other towns are giving $300 and $100, and another community hasn't even paid yet, versus Madawaska giving $15,000. So if anyone feels they want to complain about the chamber working more for Madawaska, I mean, really, so be it. My question for Sharon is, could you explain what you mean by having, you have a note here about having board members from other communities on the chamber board?
Are you done, Lori?
Yes.
Okay, are you talking about the participation of the other communities on the board?
Yes.
Okay, what I'm trying to do is get municipalities, the municipalities that we represent, to get on board with the chamber board, so that we know exactly what their needs are and what they need the chamber to do for them. And hopefully by doing that, we can do more with their communities and also bring in new members from those communities. Because as you can see, we have very few members from each of the other communities. And I'd like to build on that. And I think without someone sitting at the board, it's difficult for them to know what we can do for them. Does that answer your question, Lori?
It answers my question. The only comment I'd like to make, which is, nothing personal against anyone, but having them have a seat at the table for $100 a year versus $15,000 to me just doesn't make a lot of sense. But I'm not on your board, so I guess I just want to make that point.
I understand what you're saying, Lori, and what I'm hoping is that by more involvement from them and getting more members from their areas, that amount is going to increase. That's what I'm working towards, getting the other communities to add more dollars into the chamber. So that is just my way of trying to get that to happen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sharon?
Sharon,
Yes,
this is Danny. Are you open to any suggestions?
of course.
Okay, first and foremost, I need to tell you, I like this Zoom because Laurie can't kick me under the table. Okay, I brought this up at a selectmen meeting early last fall. As far as, I'll be honest with you, Sharon, I'm not all that big on bringing money to the chamber as much as I am on bringing money to the community. I knew from personal experience that due to the COVID thing, that the outdoor sports this past winter were going to be big. I just suggested to the board that we should probably look into the snowmobiling world and to tap into that because it was going to be big. For some reason, that never happened. But again, just because of my personal interest in the snowmobile industry, because of my past business, I kept a very, very close eye on it. I stayed in continual communication. It's a snowmobile site, New England Sled Talk. There's 34,000 people on that site. The administrator of that site is Mr. John Gibbs. And do you know he takes a vacation every year to come snowmobiling? And do you know where he goes on that vacation? He goes to Madawaska, Maine and stays on Dufour Road. We won't go beyond that, but there's other big names, Donna Horgan, Greg Stavinci, they're all out there. The big names on New England Sled Talk have all snowmobiled right here in Madawaska, and Gene at Martin's Motel, as well as the Zions at the Gateway Motel can attest to that. Personally, I think there's great potential there for business to the town of Madawaska, and I feel that we're missing the boat. I personally attended a pig roast out in the middle of the woods up in Allagash, put on by the the Allagash Snowmobile Club, MT Riders, Moosetown Riders. Mr. Aaron Moon is the president there. And then they also put on a pig roast on Glacier Lake and had a ice fishing tournament on Glacier Lake, which both events drew out big numbers of people. Now, my point is this: all of these people that attended both these events, they didn't sleep in the woods and they didn't sleep on Glacier Lake. The majority of them, some stop in Fort Kent, but Madawaska area, Long Lake area is the hub of the snowmobile arena in northern Maine. So I think we need to focus on that. With that being said, it's a little bit late now. I'm sure you're well aware that there's an ice carousel that's been cut on Long Lake.
Yeah.
It's 1,234 feet across, and this is a world record. Believe it or not, eyes from all over the world will be focused on this Saturday morning when our man Roger Morneau is going to make this spin for us. The entire world is watching. Why have we not promoted that?
Thank you.
Gary,
Okay, Dan,
Gary.
listen, before we go too far with that
Is
now.
that Gary, right? That was Gary speaking?
No, that was Dan, but.
No, Danny.
But listen, now we're getting a little away from the topic here. We're really trying to discuss the chamber at this point, and I understand the concern here, and I think there should be a private conversation there between Mr. Daigle and the Chamber of Commerce. There's no reason why you can't go in there and speak on that behalf. I mean, I like the idea. We're just getting away from the budget that we're talking about right now. Thank you.
Doug, can I just add to that?
Go ahead.
Doug,
Well, are we talking about the budget now?
Just to answer what Danny was saying, I have been reaching out to Ken Terrio and the other snowmobile associations here in the area are members of the chamber, and we have been working towards those goals. I have been working with them. As you may have noticed, I've also got Real de Shane on our board as a member of the chamber board, and he's with the ATV Venture Club. So I am reaching out to that recreational facility that we need to promote. And also we are always reaching out. But Danny, I need you to come in and talk to me and tell me these people that I'm supposed to talk to, because I don't know everything you know about snowmobiling. I'd like to, but I don't.
Thank you.
Yeah?
One second here, Doug. No, I hear you. I'm actually not a snowmobiler myself. I was just in the business of lodging these people, but I have all of the good contacts for you, and I will stop in to have a good chat with you.
That would be wonderful. I really look forward to that, Danny.
Okay, I will.
Doug, with no disrespect intended, you know, Dan's point was toward the budget, because I just want you to know this going forward. For me, I have a hard time to swallow that money, but Dan's points are very valid. And if that something can work in that arena, and the extra money that Gary wants to put into community development can be used toward that to help share and promote that type of thing, I am much more apt to support this type of budget. So I just want to make a point, like, this is what we're here for. So, you know, that little bit of information kind of just changed my mind on whether, you know, I really support these amounts or not. So I just want to say I appreciate the conversation.
And I appreciate all the help, and you guys are really interested in helping the chamber grow. And like I've said, I don't know everything about everything, but I am trying to learn. You're welcome.
So one of the things that we discussed last year when we were looking over the budget for the chamber was I had requested that we would get some sort of document at the end of the year to go over for this budget that not only said, hey, you know, we participated in this, this, and that, but what the chamber's roles were in each event that you participated in to help out the town. And that we were going to utilize that to identify where our $5,000 went and kind of how the chamber works with the town. So I'd still like to see that before we go over the final decision on this amount. But I'd like to see a detailed document, not only that we helped out with setting up Christmas decorations, but what your role was in each different activity that went on that you participated in.
Okay, I think that some of the statistics you're looking for, Jason, to be honest with you, I don't have. We are working on having a good statistical analysis. That is not in the cards right now. But I can give you all the information you want. Just let me know what it is exactly you want, and I will get it to you.
Yeah, it's like I had requested last year. I'm not looking for statistics of how many more people went, how many less people went. I'm looking at, for example, the Halloween event that went on in town. If the chamber had any participation in that, you know, hey, the chamber contacted 20 different people to help to promote the business, or the chamber purchased an ad in the newspaper for this event. Not just a word of mouth saying, yeah, the chamber helped with this, this, and that. You know, these events, I want to see the details of the Halloween event, the items the chamber worked on, the Christmas party. These are the things that the chamber worked on, stuff like that.
Okay, Jason, I can do that.
Ken John had to raise his hand for a question. Ken?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dan. We should have hit that snowmobiling thing really hard this year. That was an opportunity where I think we lost out. And I also agree with Lori. She had some good comments. I'm with Lori 100%. If the other communities aren't chipping in financially, boot them off. I mean, what's $100 to sit on a board and make decisions for their communities? Madawaska's putting some cash in there. I think Madawaska should keep their cash.
Is this Ken?
It is.
Ken, the only thing with that is that the chamber, before I came on board, changed their name to the St. John Valley Chamber, which encompasses a whole area around Madawaska. Prior to that, we were the Greater Madawaska Chamber of Commerce, where our focus was more on Madawaska. With the name change, it makes it a little difficult to focus everything on Madawaska. So yeah, I think that's a discussion we need to have. And where do we go from here?
I think it's pretty simple for me. Change it to Madawaska. If we're paying for it, or 99% of it, it should be Madawaska. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If nobody's got any other questions for Sharon,
I have something.
oh, go ahead.
I have something. Sharon, are you going to do more this year for the Small Business Saturday?
Yes, for sure.
Because it was virtually unseen this past year.
Last year, because of COVID and because I had problems with some of the people who were working for me, as for promotions, it didn't come through like it should have. And I can promise you that it will be bigger and better this year. I can promise you that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mano. Anybody else? Jason, did you have something else, or?
No, I'm good.
Nope.
All right, Sharon, it looks like we've answered everybody's questions, and I want to thank you for taking some time to present and take those questions.
Well, I thank you guys, and I wish there's more that I could do for you. And I really hate this thing that I can't see everybody. But, you know, let's hope that when we can meet in person, we can all talk together. And I welcome anybody to come to the office and, you know, yell at me, do whatever you want. Tell me what you think the chamber should be doing. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I want to do for the community.
Right.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thanks.
All right, so we'll move back on to the social services budget. We've got Joy Baresi here, and she's with the Aroostook Area Agency on Aging. Hi, Joy, how are you?
Hi, thanks for bearing with me as I went to get my COVID vaccine. So, first one is done, yay.
That you would like for me to put up on the screen and share? Just let me know when you wanted to do that.
Yeah, you can. I'll reference that, but you don't have to put it up, Gary. You can share it with others after if you want. I just wanted to have so that you would have that data to reference. But I think how much time do I have, Gary? Just like 5 minutes. Much time as I want. Now I'm a Baresi, so an associate too, so you gotta be careful with that. But thank you for inviting me to present tonight to your budget meeting. My name is Joy Baresi Associate. As Gary said, I'm the Executive Director of the Aroostook Agency on Aging. And we did submit a request for appropriations for your year of $2,300. That's the same amount that we've requested in past years. Just a little bit about the agency. Many of you may know us, but some may not. We are a nonprofit charitable organization, 501c3. We serve the whole county, even though our office is here in Presque Isle. We serve the whole county through the provision of outreach services. We have staff we have a staff member that lives in Madawaska. Many of our outreach staff work from their homes. And then we also work with community partners and provide services to a variety of community partner sites. We have a volunteer board, so we do have regional representation. We have 4 members of our board from the Valley. We have a total board of 19. It's a pretty big board, but the regional representation is the good part about that. And our mission basically is to help older people remain living in their home communities. And research shows from the AARP that about 75% of people, they want to continue living in their home communities. And not only that, 75% want to continue living in their homes, their current homes. And so really, when you look at our mission in its most simplest version, is to help older people remain living in their homes, in their home communities. And the important part of that, as you would all, I think, understand, is that when we keep older people living in their home communities, they add a tremendous amount of value to our community because they bring their knowledge, their wisdom, their family, their energy, and they put it back into the community. And we're very much in support of that. So interesting about something that's not in the information I sent, but I was doing a little research today. You may or may not know that 40% of your population is over the age of 65. I was just curious, how many of you knew that? 40% of the population in Madawaska is over the age of 65. That's really outstanding. And you're unique to a degree because of that. You are one of the oldest communities in Aroostook County. When you compare those statistics to the county and the state, the county is around 23 to 24% of older people 65 and older living in the county, and Maine is 20%, and the US is 16%. So you're really reflecting what the population, as we look into 2030, 2040, that's just, again, emphasizing the importance of this type of support to older people to stay living in your home communities. Now, the appropriation that we asked for, the way that we use that is to match federal and state contracts, to match anywhere between 10 and 30%. So the money that we get from the municipal allocations, that's how we use it. And we have a very limited amount of ways to raise that money, of course, because we basically ask for donations. As we do through our Older Americans Act funds are required to offer the opportunity to donate for services, but the majority of our services we don't charge a fee for. And actually the services that we don't charge a fee for, about 75% of that service is covered through the federal and state contracts. And only a small percent is through philanthropy or through municipal allocations. So we haven't changed. A few years ago, we changed our method of allocation of that. We haven't changed that since. Basically, when we made that change, we stopped asking the county for any allocations with the exception of the unorganized townships. So there's no scenario where you're paying and then you're paying county money and then they're paying. That's not happening. And so it's 60 cents per capita rounded to the nearest $100. And that's how we got to the $2,300 for Madawaska. Just what I sent Gary earlier is a little statistics about, it shows some data about what we provided in our last fiscal year to Madawaska. We served 372 residents. And again, we not only serve older people, we serve those with disabilities and caregivers. So really we serve people of all ages, primarily 18 and over. We did about 30,000 units of service. A unit of service could be a call, a food, a meal, a visit with a caregiver. And in that number, there were over 18,000 home delivered meals served to people in Madawaska, almost 3,800 congregate dining center meals. We helped 81 people get commodity food boxes in your town. We do provide personal support specialist service. And so we provided about almost 3,500 hours of personal support specialist service. That's people that come into your home and help older people with their activities of daily living. And we responded to 716 requests for information and assistance. So when we put a value to those services, it's over $178,000 of services that we provided to people in Madawaska. And then in addition, we have volunteer services where we help match volunteers to our own service, but also other nonprofits in your community. We had 5 stations in Madawaska during that time with 44 volunteers and almost 6,000 hours of service. So if you put a money factor to that, it comes out to over $139,000 of volunteer service coming back into Madawaska too. So we're quite passionate about what we do. COVID certainly has changed things for us. We saw our home delivered meals volume double over the last year. We were serving about 4,500 meals a month. Now we're serving over 10,000 meals a month. We do have a kitchen in Madawaska that we staff, and most of the meals in the valley, unlike most other parts of the county, are hot home delivered meals. They come out of that kitchen in Madawaska and then are distributed in the valley, Frenchville, St. Agat, Fort Kent. And then the outlying areas, we do provide a frozen home delivered meal product just because of temperature control primarily, and being able to get to those locations as often as we need to. So we also saw big increases in our information and assistance calls, especially last spring. And then in addition, recently with the COVID vaccination, we've been assisting people to enroll for their vaccination, where that was an online portal for many in Aroostook. We've been helping with that. We've helped over 2,100 people actually secure a vaccination appointment. And that work continues. We're partnering with the hospitals in Aroostook County on that. So just a very busy time for us. We have gotten some assistance through the federal packages, but this money, we still have to match our normal money that we get. So that match doesn't go away just because we've gotten the additional federal packages. And the federal packages really are one-time money, just like you're getting I think you're getting some one-time money. Ours is one-time money. So we can help to use that to strengthen our infrastructure and to respond to immediate needs. And we've done that in the valley in the last year. We put a big freezer up in the Fort Kent Senior Center parking lot. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a big outdoor freezer. We can put a ton of frozen meals in. And we use that as a distribution point for the frozen meals if and when we need to. And we did have a situation in last year where we had to close the Madawaska kitchen for a couple weeks due to COVID and revert to the frozen meals for that period of time. We offer a lot of other services, over 20 programs and services, with a special emphasis on caregivers. And I think that's where people might not know as much about what we do as we'd like them to. And we always say it all starts with one call. We want you to consider us as an extension of your town office. If you have folks that walk in, you need assistance, you're not sure what to do. Sometimes they don't even know the question they have. They just know they have a need. We want them to call us. We are an aging and disability resource center for our region, which means we are here to help with any need anyone should have. So with that, I'm happy to take questions. I know that was a bit of a whirlwind all over the place, but I'm happy to take questions and provide more information if I can.
Does anyone have a question?
No, I'm all set.
Really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Joy, we appreciate you taking some
You did a
time.
great job explaining all about it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I just want to also thank Gary. Gary has come to the senior center there and met with us, and when we have challenges or barriers, he's right there to assist. So I just want to thank him as well. And I'd also want to put a shout out for volunteerism in the valley and in Madawaska specifically. And if you know of anyone that's willing in your community to help deliver meals or help in other ways, volunteer. We often are short with volunteerism in the Madawaska region or in the valley specifically. So please pass on to your neighbors what we do and encourage them to give us a call and get involved. We'd love to have their help.
Thank you, Joy.
And I'll come up to whenever I can and share some more. So invite me back.
Thank you, Joy.
Thanks, Joy.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. All right, so that covers all of our presenters, our speakers tonight. We can go back to social services, and we were down up to the point where that was Main and Canadian Heritage Trail. If you guys are comfortable with continuing that way.
Yep.
It's a similar request of $200. Skipping down, St. John Valley Associates has presented, Aroostook Area Agency presented. All the literature on that and the impact, the local impact that provides. $870 from the request from the Home Services of Aroostook. I gotta make sure I got my lines.
Yep, you're
Crossing
good.
my lines here.
Mhm.
But, Homeless Services of Aroostook, $1,050. $807 is the ACAP, sorry. Northern Maine Veterans Cemetery, $100 is unchanged. They provided, just today, they sent over a letter for their support request, and we emailed that to you, the board and the finance committee earlier today. Life Flight, $1,008. United Way, $100 is just unchanged. Pause, $200, and you have the literature on Pause. They do a lot of work with cats in Madawaska. Health Equity Alliance, $500. Habitat for Humanity, there's no request this year. Francis, as presented for the Historical Society, we have a $100 request from Maine Public Radio, and no request from the Long Lake Water Quality Association. Any questions on these social services requests? If not, I will direct you attention to the intergovernmental budget. And I'm going to start on the top, which is the county tax has gone up. The amount is this year is $498,643. That's an increase of $25,941 over last year. The Valley Recycling Facility is $470,000 unchanged. The airport, $58,161 unchanged. Hydrant rental, that's the water district, $288,000 unchanged. $24,000 for streetlights, it's up by $3,000, and that's because, and again, I'll remind everybody, the town of Madawaska now owns its own streetlights. When we upgraded our streetlight project, we purchased the old lights, so we would no longer be paying lease fees on those fixtures. So our light budget, if you can, you just look over a few columns. And I lost my spot here.
The 2019-2020 column shows 80,000.
We used to budget, $100,000, per year for lights, and we're down to about this year's request at 24. The reason why we brought it up from last year is because when Maine Public, or now Versant, does work on poles, they do upgrades, they take the light down, we have to put it back up. Okay, so that's an expense on us. We're responsible for that utility, the town of Madawaska. But the streetlight project as a whole, it pays off in 3.5 years roughly. We financed that project for 5 years. We have 4 years left to pay. That loan is in our debt service budget. But the savings of going to municipally owned lights and LED over 20 years is almost $1 million. So that's a really good thing for the town. But I feel like we needed to have a little bit more money in there to cover lights that are taken down, and that we do have to bring somebody who's approved to work in the poles to put those lights back up. NNDC, any questions on that before I move on? If not, NNDC's request is $8,687. That's a $170 increase. Maine Municipal Association is $4,303. The chamber, you can see that the number is $10,765. We talked about how we split that out between the community development budget and the appropriations in here. Moving down, $13,200 for the Acadian Festival. We didn't fund that last year primarily because there wasn't one, and they had sufficient funds in their account. Four Seasons, $4,000. Farmers Market, $2,000. So the overall increase to the the intergovernmental budget is $12,135 as compared to last year. Any on that?
I see, Lori's got a.
I guess my question is, if we felt they had enough money last year, but then we didn't have it, the Acadian Festival, I don't understand the appropriation this year. We're doing a 3-day weekend. We're struggling to give money to the chamber. We're struggling to give money to, I don't know if we could just maybe look at the balance that's in that account right now and then have some discussion with them before we decide on this, because I don't understand why I thought they had over 20,000, so now do we need $40,000 for a 3-day weekend? I don't know. Okay, seems like a lot.
I can tell you from firsthand experience, and listen, I'm the first to squeak a budget as tight as I can, trust me. But I can tell you when it comes to Acadian Festival, I think it was me last year that said, I don't think we should fund it last year because we weren't having it. But I can tell you right now, on a bare, dry festival where everybody's gonna complain that there's nothing going on, it's $40,000, $50,000 to put it on. 2 years ago, the last festival that I was present there, I can tell you, we spent about $90,000, and it cost this town that 12,000 and change that year. So this funding, they will only get come July, but everything they have to do has to be done prior to that. The ridiculous amount of fundraising that goes on over there is out of control. It's exactly the reason why I'm not on there anymore. So I totally understand that monies, and I'm telling you, it is a small amount of money. If this town would ever, and I would highly recommend we do an analysis on what that generates for this town, because I can guarantee you it's millions of dollars comes into this town over that Acadian Festival annually. It's a ton of money. That's all I got on that one.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else? Lori?
Gary, who does the, I want to say Ryan Pelletier had talked about that at one. How do we do an analysis on that to determine what type of revenues or what type of benefit the town sees off those monies spent?
It's a good question. I think that would involve asking the businesses to help to participate in like a revenue survey to try to, because there's no way to quantify that from, sales of during those days, those events. So I think it would be a good thing to do, and it would be a good thing for maybe the chamber, for instance, to try to learn from those events and work with the businesses who to try to gather that revenue data, that traffic, through the door, and what that impact is locally. I mean, of course, it would be anonymous. We wouldn't want to share revenue figures of specific businesses by name, but I certainly think that we could work to try to quantify that, but it would take some participation from the local businesses.
I just think that it's something that probably would be beneficial in the future, at least at one point over the past, say, 10-year cycle of the Acadian Festival, that we'd have some understanding of what the return is on those monies. But I can tell you the $20,000 that's sitting in that account came from a lot of sweat and tears in actually making one of those festivals in many years actually return some money back to them. I'll defend them all day long at Acadian Festival. It's a huge thing. It's one of the last cultural, it's probably the largest cultural event in the state. And it's growing. It is, it's doing well, and COVID kind of put the brakes on that last year, but I'll support that one. And if I can help find that information somehow, Gary, and we can do some work on that, I'll help you do it.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, can I say something? Chris, I agree with you 100%. If we don't do the Acadian Festival, this is the biggest cultural event in the state of Maine. And we do get thousands and thousands of people here and thousands of dollars coming into the community. If we don't do it, somebody else will do it. So I think it behooves us to really pay attention to this. And I know that, well, I'm speaking for the chamber, we will be more than willing to do any type of statistical surveys to see what does it bring into the community, because we can do that with our members and the hotels, the restaurants, everything else that goes on here that's sold. That will give us a good picture, I think.
I just want to make it clear, it's not that I'm not supporting the chamber, but, and Chris, I love your idea about, trying to qualify this, because in my mind, I just see, okay, yes, we're doing a week, and if it's millions of dollars, that's all wonderful. That's fine. But let's say we're spending $40,000 for a 3-day weekend, how much money we're bringing in the community versus giving $40,000 to the Chamber and Economic Development to create something that's going to happen all year. I think at some point, someone really needs to look into that and see if we're underfunding in the wrong places, and now we're, putting money in a one-time event. So I like your idea, Chris.
I think there just needs to be an analysis done on that somehow. And I want to say Ryan Pelletier at one point was looking to do that. I only say his name because he's the one that talked to me about it. And I know there's an impact. It's not only here. I know in whenever the last year I did it, a couple of years ago, I think we filled the hotels in Presque Isle as well. So I'd be curious to know what the impact is not just locally, but regionally. And I know there's a way to do that. I'll help whoever's going to do it. I'll work on it.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Chris. That looks like it's it, Gary.
All right, so that'll conclude the budget work with the board and the finance committee. The board still has some board business to take care of with a few items of business. So thanks to the finance committee. I will say that Chris, I sent you an email today in regards to meeting with the school, a small group of you from the finance committee. We had talked about that at the last budget meeting. And their availability to meet with us to talk about facility uses with Public Works and the Rec Department. And so right now, they've indicated they want to sit down with us. Evenings don't work well for them because they're all in budgets. And Superintendent Sirois and Giselle worked with all of the town's budgets, school budgets in the valley from here to Fort Kent. So a daytime meeting would be better for them, like a lunch hour. They had offered to do a lunch hour meeting. So if you're available to that, just let me know. And we'll try to find a date where we can sit down before you guys at the finance committee meet as a group to discuss the town budget as a whole.
Gary, are we still on for next Tuesday for the finance committee to meet again? That's good. Is that posted probably so we can tie our loose ends up and bring back to the board some of the concerns that we may or may not have?
So I wanted to ask you guys, if you do plan on using next Tuesday as a meeting of the finance committee, then we will post that meeting agenda just for you guys. It won't be a joint meeting. It'll be just for you folks. I can go ahead and do that.
I'm pretty sure that was the plan originally. I'd like to do that so we can move this on and get done with this one.
Okay.
Gary, is it possible to get a copy of the reserve budgets of the departments?
Yes. Yeah. And the other thing too, I want to offer to the finance committee, Carol and I Carol, the finance director, can make ourselves available to you guys if you want us to be there to answer some specific questions about town budgets, departments. We can be available to you for that as well. Or if you have any questions before the meeting, you can just fire us an email and we'll answer those questions, but just know that we're available.
That might not be a bad idea to have somebody there to answer some of our questions. If we have something that come up, it might speed up the process for us.
Chris, are you adjourning now? Chris?
I am adjourning on the finance committee. Thank you.
Now, hold on. Are we gonna have a meeting, a together meeting, or is it gonna be a Zoom meeting here at this point for us, Chris?
I am not sure where we're at with that. I will follow up with an email and let everybody know. I'd like to do it in person so we can it's a little bit easier to do it in person, but let me, I'll do some homework on my end. I'll try to get back to everybody tomorrow.
Right.
How about the rest of us?
Are we still doing Zoom, and specifically, what is driving us to do the Zoom meetings? There's no reason right now we can't be meeting, observing the protocol for COVID with the mask and social distancing. We should be meeting in person.
I don't have any comment on that at this time.
We're all set on the finance committee end.
Thanks, Chris,
Thank you, Chris.
and the rest on the finance committee.
All right, moving on to the town's business. Under public participation, we did receive a letter.
Want to remove everybody else from the meeting?
What's that, Daniel?
I was just gonna say, you remove the others from the meeting so that they can't accidentally talk in on
Okay.
Fran. Sorry, Doug.
Nope, it's okay. Will be just a minute, board members, it won't be long.
I think that's it.
Very good. So again, we did receive a letter sent to the town. I will read that letter off at this time. I am totally ashamed of the town of Madawaska, again to post such a negative post to the town news, making us a mockery again, exposing our businesses and business people to the ridicule and defame of our town again. The post was general, but the public read through the lines and figured out what we were talking about. Now we will have to defend ourselves of the backlash this is causing. All done without getting the facts first. The officials involved in this issue should be fired and or reprimanded. Also, there should be a public apology for the town for this issue. If nothing else is done, I will personally call out all these involved. I will not stop until I get an answer. So I need a motion to discuss. Do I have a motion? I see no motion to discuss this issue.
I make the motion, Doug? Doug?
Yes?
Doug?
Yes? I hear you, Dan.
Okay. I make a motion. You hear me now?
I hear you clearly.
I make a motion that we open discussion on the matter at hand.
In order to have a second and to discuss this issue, we need the whole board to vote on this, on a second. So I need a second from all board members that we are going to discuss this matter. Do we have a second? I see no second. Again, I want to ask for a second. Does anybody choose to second this motion? Again, there is no motion to discuss this issue. We are going to move on.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Seeing that there is no second, can I speak at this point?
Issue is not on the table anymore, Mr. Daigle.
Thank you for cutting me off again, Mr. Chairman.
Article 1, to a sewer abatement request for account number 40675.
So we got a request for account 40675 for sewer abatement request in the amount of $224. There was, we got a note from the water district, you all have that in your agenda pack, that they deducted 3,500 cubic feet from the third quarter, and that changed their consumption amount. And so our sewer fees are partially based on flat fees, make-ready fees, and also consumption. I see no issue with approving this abatement request.
Right, I make a motion to accept the abatement request.
Do we have a second to accept the request? Do we have a
Oh.
okay, Mano has, second?
Mano, your camera's off, your mic is off, Mano. More announcement.
I'm trying. Yes, I said.
Okay. She said she's in favor? She did?
She seconded.
She seconded. All in favor? Raise your hand, please. Opposed? I see 2 opposed.
No, I don't,
Gary turned off his camera so we can't see Dan.
okay, so I don't see.
I don't know if
anybody
Gary or
opposed.
Dan are still there.
I don't think anybody opposed. I think there was a delay in the cameras.
So you should go to each member and just say yay or nay, so we can take care of the
It's difficult to see the votes coming in here, so we're gonna call you out by name. Mano? In favor or against?
Yes,
Yes, you're in favor. Lori?
I'm in favor.
Dan?
Yes.
Dan?
Opposed?
Jason?
Yes.
So the yes, I hear you, Dan. So we have 3 yes and 1 no, so it does carry. Article 2, to consider the renewal membership and appointee to the Main Service Center Coalition.
So you have the letter from the Main Service Centers Coalition. Madawaska is a service center town, and we belong to the Main Service Center Coalition, which provides legislative advocacy, much like the Maine Municipal Association. Our membership has a cost of $500, and then by vote of the board, you appoint. I've been appointed to be the voting delegate for Main Services Center Coalition, and the way that they work is that they take positions on bills that affect municipalities, and there is advocacy that occurs at the legislature when bills are being proposed and debated. So they've been good for us. It gives us a voice as a service center on legislation that is of concern to municipalities.
So you're looking for,
So what you have in front of you is that if you want to continue to be in the Main Service Center Coalition and appoint, if you want to reappoint me to be on that as a voting delegate.
all right, so the motion would carry that we renew our membership and that we ask Mr. Gary Picard to be the member on that coalition. Is there a motion?
No. Can you?
You're still muted.
You took it off and you went back to mute.
Now can you hear me?
There you go.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear you.
move to renewal membership. To renew the membership. And the appointee of the Main Service Center Coalition.
I'll second.
With no other discussion, can I have a show of hands? Who approves? Anybody against?
Give it time, give it time.
Okay,
There's a huge delay.
so it looks like there's 4 for and 1 against, so this article will carry. Article 3, to consider request for the Board of Selectmen to adopt.
Chairman, who was against?
You're from what I could see, you were the one against.
Who was against?
I think,
Chairman,
I understand.
All those that were for, I raised my hand. Again, you're seeing only what you like to see. I am for it with the others, please.
there's a
Dan,
huge delay, guys, we apologize. There is a huge delay which caused it to look different, but we'll give it more time to get rid of that.
It's the delay here, Dan, that's affecting how we see things, and I apologize, I thought when you raised your hand, it looked like it was against, so, I understand that you are saying you are for it. Is that correct?
I am with the others,
Okay,
and I would recommend that we do our meetings in person.
I understand. All right, so Article 3, to consider a request for the Board of Selectmen to adopt a second amendment sanctuary amendment. Do I have a motion? Is there a
I'll make
motion?
a motion to, adopt the amendments or to discuss, actually.
To discuss, yes. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second by Dan. Yes, I got it. All right, so we're open for discussion.
All right, you gotta vote. All in favor?
No,
No?
no, because the motion was
Oh,
already in the
sorry.
agenda.
Yeah.
Is there, so we're looking for discussion. Is there anybody that wants to comment?
Yes, I did read the input from the police chief, and I am not in total agreement with what he put out. I am very familiar with what the other communities, Caribou as well as Fort Fairfield, has gone through for this sanctuary towns. And with everything that's going on, I believe that it is not only our right, but our responsibility to do everything that we can to protect our Second Amendment right. The police chief did state that this is way beyond the scope and the governing by the individual towns, that it's taken care of at the state level and at the national level. Well, I have lost total confidence in everything at the state and national levels. And there we are down where the rubber meets the road, and the individual communities, as well as individuals, are going to have to stand up for their rights. And I think it's in the best interest of the citizens of the town of Madawaska to go ahead with this. My view only.
Do we have any other? If we don't have,
I feel like this is a very political thing. I think that, a lot of the people's thoughts about something like this run along party lines. And because I feel like as a board, we should not be taking a political side, I'm not willing to sign the resolution as is, but I would be willing and would like to recommend that maybe we put it as a warrant and let the voter decide. I think that if it goes to town meeting and there's adequate information for both sides, and we give information out that doesn't try to sway people one way or another, that the voter should decide at town meeting.
thank you, Lori.
Thanks. Thanks.
Lori. You all done? Okay.
So Ross, and you all have received the legal opinion on it from
Yep.
MMA, which was posted in their Townsman, the Townsman magazine that you get as board members, and then Ross has provided his letter to the board on his views and thoughts. And Ross, if you have anything to say, would be the time now.
Don't hear him.
There we go. I guess the question I would have is exactly what would we be looking for? Who would be deciding what laws we're going to be enforcing and which ones we won't be? Yeah.
Go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, I would just think I'm a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment myself. I would think making an affirmation by the town saying that firearms, ownership of firearms has played a very important part in our culture, our history, and that we as a town would stand against any infringement on those rights. But to try to say what laws we're going to enforce and not enforce, I think would not work. I think the Attorney General's office is going to have a say in that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else for comment?
I don't think, I don't think it's intended to decide which laws we're going to enforce. I think it just establishes that, we support the Second Amendment and that, we're opposed to any federal changes in those laws. I mean, is it purely, kind of ceremonial? Maybe, but the fact is it's very important to a lot of the taxpayers that we at least make that known. And like I said, I mean, I'm not going to make that decision for everybody. I think that it should be, up to them. We don't have to word it exactly like the other communities. I mean, we can work on it a little bit, but it's my opinion. I've been approached about this a lot. It's odd, but it seems to be that people are hearing that we were going to be discussing it, and like I said, it seems to be a political hot topic. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Is there anybody else for comment? Seeing that there is nobody else. Mino?
No, I'm all set. I was agreeing with Lori that it should go to town meeting.
All right, so after discussion, I'm looking for a vote to adopt, let me read this carefully. To adopt the Second Amendment sanctuary as it is written. Do we have a yes vote on this? Does anybody have a yes vote? I'm looking for an answer there. I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand or say yes or no. Maybe I'll call on you individually. Lori, are you saying yes to this amendment? Lori, are you saying yes to this amendment?
Well, no, we had a motion to discuss. I guess I'm confused. I mean, I would make a different motion than just to discuss it.
No, we need to finish this motion before we can make another one, so we have to vote yes or no if we're for or oppose this motion.
Well, I'm done discussing. I vote no. No. I mean.
What a predicament.
Mino?
No.
Are you voting yes?
No.
Dan?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, well, exactly what are we voting on? The original motion, like Laurie said, was just a discussion. Is a yes vote going to send this to the taxpayers at town meeting? Is that what a yes vote would mean?
No. No.
Separate motion.
So what are we voting on?
Whether we're adopting this amendment as it's written.
Okay. Well, for me, that would be a yes.
Jason?
No.
At this point, it's a 3-1, so this article has been defeated. Article 4, to consider a property tax abatement for real estate account number
Wait, wait,
23449.
wait a minute. We can't
What?
make a motion now to send this to town meeting? Like, I don't understand what we're doing here.
Well, we could, I think we can do that, but not necessarily at this time.
You'd have to do it
Why?
during other board.
Why not? We should have had a motion to just discussion and see if there is a motion on the topic.
So the proper way to do the Robert's Rules of Order is, that was on the agenda, that item there. So we had to close out that motion before we can make another one. So if Doug wants to entertain another motion right now, a new motion could be made, or if we want to wait till the end of the agenda for new motions, that's a decision for the chair. But we had to close out that first motion before we can make a new one. But yes,
Well,
a new
that's
motion, I
fine.
guess,
So
could
we're
be
just
made
gonna move
depending
on and not talk about it anymore.
That's not what I just said. I said a new motion can be made, but we could not change or amend the current motion.
No, I
that was
know.
there.
But Doug is saying, let's just move on.
You know, I will entertain a second motion to consider this to go to a town meeting on a warrant.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make,
Yes, I
a
hear you, Dan. Yes,
motion,
go ahead, Mr. Daigle.
I make a motion that we bring this forward to town meeting, to the taxpayers for a vote at annual town meeting. Thank you, Laurie.
All right, I will entertain that motion.
But he did. He just did.
Right, you made the motion. Now somebody want to second it?
I need a second now. We have a second.
Yeah, Lauren?
All in favor?
We need discussion first.
Nope, sorry, that's right, we're looking at discussions again. We need a discussion whether or not we're gonna allow this to go to town meeting.
I've got something.
Go ahead, Mano.
No, I was voting in favor. I was voting in favor.
I will not attend,
Jason,
I
go
am
ahead.
not attending another meeting via Zoom, just letting you know.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Oh,
Right, let's move on so we can get this done. Okay.
I'm starting to
Way
like
too
those
much.
We'll
girls.
have to bring it up in a different meeting.
No,
Sign
the motion
languages
is there,
or
second.
Oh, no,
For discussion.
I don't know, I'm
That's
sorry, I
something
thought you were
for
saying
discussion.
move on beyond.
No, I'm just saying let's.
All right, so we do have there is a motion, I'm looking for a second.
You got a second. I know second.
All right, so I'm sorry, then, is there any discussion now?
Yes, I've got something for discussion.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I definitely agree this should be brought to town meeting, but before we bring the motion to say, let's bring it exactly as written, I think we might want to review it and make sure that it meets our words and we bring it that way before we present it to the town, but, you know, I definitely think it should be a taxpayer's decision, so.
Is there any other discussion? Since there is no other discussion, this motion is to bring this up under a warrant at a town meeting. All in favor, please raise your hand or say hi. Aye.
Aye.
So it's for it and nobody's against it, so that motion will carry. Thank you. Article 4, to consider a property tax abatement for real estate account number 2349, town request.
So this request is, this was actually the old 507 Main Street drug house that was cleaned up by the town. The property was sold, but there's a balance. When the property was sold, it wasn't enough to clear all of the taxes that were owed on it, because when we sold it, there was no more building on it, right? So taxes had accrued over the years to a point that the town would never recoup that amount of money for just selling a piece of land. So the board had accepted that offer back in 2018, I believe it was. But we still have that amount. That's basically a housekeeping or a bookkeeping exercise that we're doing right now. And we would need to approve this amount of money for $3,701.81.
Do I have a motion to accept the amount requested for this amendment of $3,701.81?
Motion. I will motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on this issue? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes? Yes, go ahead, Dan.
I would like to go on record as abstaining for the simple reason that any tax abatement at this point in time from my seat as a selectman is a very sore subject, and for that reason, I abstain.
Very good. So we have three that are for and one abstained. The motion carries. Article 5. To consider a proposal by CIA-Access GIS for digital town tax maps and online GIS tax maps access system.
So last week, at our last budget meeting, we had gotten a proposal. We wanted to put it in front of you so you guys could, during our budget discussion, so you guys can have an idea of how that cost of that project would impact the budget in the development codes and assessing. And so the proposal is for digitizing our tax maps that are last updated in 2016. So they need to be brought, our maps need to be brought current. We've traditionally, or historically I should say, been budgeting $4,000 a year for updates of tax maps. This project is gonna cost us, you can see the amount there. It is a $24,400 for digitizing your maps. The annual fee for updating those maps would be $1,900. And then there's also the second level tier of service that they would provide, which is the GIS. This syncs with GIS and being able to put layers of imagery provided by, Jason, what's that called? The state, it's not USGS, but it's at the state level of flyover data that we get that gives us that, what looks like Google Earth imagery. It's a very good service. That other section of service for the GIS is $1,500 to purchase, and it has an annual hosting fee of $3,000. So after this project is done, if it is approved by this board, the cost to update our tax maps would be about $900 more than we've been historically been budgeting. But we would have a service that people could actually go online themselves and access the tax maps. And there's a lot of features in there. I don't know if you want me to share that screen with you. I put it up last week to show you, but there is everything from street view. You can look at a tax parcel. You can do a search by name, search by lot, search by address, and it brings you to that parcel, that home, that business, piece of land. You can hone in on the details and click a tab and get the assessment data for that piece of property. You can go to Street View and see what it looks like. You can actually measure, there's tools on there for measuring acreage, square footage, that anybody can use, not just us. You can overlay your zoning maps on top of that, aquifer maps. There's just a lot of stuff, functionality in this app, not this app, but this digitized tax map service that would benefit us and the users as a whole. Any questions?
Go ahead, Jason.
So I definitely think digital is the new future and it's the way to go. And I think by doing this, we're gonna advance the town quite a bit. So.
And I want to go ahead and say, and I know I said it last week, but this company here that's proposing this service for us is doing a lot of localities up here in northern Maine. They're doing a lot in Maine. but they are the ones that have moved into this market. And so anybody who wants to use this service, like an attorney or title company or anybody for that matter, will be using the same platform for digitized tax maps and GIS. So it'll be very familiar for them, for realtors and all that, to have them on board, because it'll be consistent across the towns for them to be able to use that. That's all I have.
Very good.
So
I'm sorry, Jace, hold on just a second. We really needed a motion to.
that's what I was gonna do.
All right, so we need a motion to consider this proposal.
Yeah, I
So-
make a motion to consider the proposal as written.
All right, and do we have a second? Is there a second to accept this proposal? We have a second by Lori. What other discussion do we have about this, this article? Anybody, have anything else?
Assuming that we don't move ahead with this project because of the cost, what is the end result of reneging on this?
I'm not sure if I understand what reneging, if you mean that we bring them on but we don't do it next year?
I think what he's trying to say is, do we go revert back to what we're doing now?
Yeah, if we don't do this, what are
The
our
system
costs gonna
that
be
we
to bring it
have-
back up?
The system we have in place right now is working, and because of the sums of money that we're looking at, because of the economic times of the community right now, I think that it would be wise to hold off on this. The existing system, I totally understand. It's you know, it's not obsolete. It's old, but so am I, and I'm still good. And I think that we could make this last a few more years before spending these sums of money.
Thank you, Mr. Daigle. Anybody else?
When did you say the last time they were updated? And then is there somebody that is available to update them on paper?
So they were last updated in 2016. We typically would like to have those done every year, every other year. Our local person who has done these before is no longer available to do that for us. And so we were always hopeful that, you know, they would come back online to be able to provide that service, but it hasn't happened. It's not just Madawaska, it's the other municipalities as well. So a lot of the other municipalities have moved in a different direction to do so. And right now, you know, it's whether or not it has to happen this year, there's a point to be made by that, but this is the way that it's going, you know, to be able to move in that direction. Did I answer your question, Laurie?
Yeah. So you're saying that it doesn't have to be done this year, and you could get by another year.
Well, we talked about that this year because in our current budget and development codes and assessing, because we've been short-staffed, we haven't had to pay payroll and health benefits and stuff, that we would have the money to pay for that out of this year's budget with the savings that we've accumulated in that budget this year, which is why this project doesn't have a impact on tax rates moving forward. You know, we would budget $4,900 a year for updates moving forward for tax maps, for the updates to the digital tax maps.
So if we push it off to next year, it'll have to be considered in next year's budget, but this year it doesn't have to. It still costs us the same thing, but in the end, right now, we wouldn't have to worry about it in the budget going forward. I get it. I forgot that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Jeez. All right, so Article 5 would be to accept this proposal by CAI-Access GIS to digitize our town maps. All in favor? So we have 3 in favor,
Lori,
Oppo-
Mado, Jason, and Dan is opposed.
and Dan is opposed. So Article 5 does carry. I believe those are the end of our articles for this evening.
I want to set a next meeting date,
Yeah.
regular.
For us, our next meeting would be,
So we would need to have a regular board meeting to take care of some business, not budget. I'm not sure when, first of all, a question to the board is, how would you like to, in respect to the budget development as a board, do you guys as a board want to meet, to talk about the budget as a whole? And then meet again with the finance committee after that? And I'm only asking to see what your thoughts are and where we might be able to place that in this schedule. Excuse me, and then we would need just a regular board meeting to take care of just business.
well, any thoughts?
Oh, you know what? And I want to say before we're done there, Natalie reminded me of something and I almost forgot. So I sent you guys an email today that we got a request from the manager of or one of the project guys for Read and Read. They're looking to, they've asked, they met with him yesterday afternoon and they asked if they could utilize the old trailer park property that the town owns on near Mill Street. Before you get down in the bottom there in the big bend in the road. So I said, well, we'll have to put that before the board. We do have a board meeting, it's a budget meeting, and he asked if there were any way possible that this board could consider the request, because Read and Read they're gonna be mobilizing in a couple of weeks and starting to bring in their job trailers and equipment and things like that. So I asked them if, so I would be prepared to answer your questions if the questions came up. If they typically pay rent for these sites, for these job trailers, and how long would this go on for? So what they said is that they'd be willing to pay $250 a month for that property till at least 2024.
So if we're discussing, I'm assuming that if we are discussing funds here, that I'm gonna be entertaining a motion to allow Read and Read to use that old trailer park at a fee of $250 a month. I do have a first,
I'd like to make a full motion though, because I have something else to change that.
You wanna change that?
Yeah, I'll make the motion with what I want to say.
Very good.
Okay, so I make a motion that we do rent or lease the property for $250 a month, with the stipulation that the property needs to be returned back to its current state once they leave.
Yeah.
Okay, so that motion has been addressed again. All in favor?
Need a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still looking for a second. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay,
Need a second first.
we need a second first, Dan. We need a second.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right. All right, thank you. Now we're open for discussion.
Okay. Me? Okay, before we accept $250 a month, I would suggest that we do a little bit of investigating on current rates for rental property for this nature of business, because from my gatherings, property would go for a lot more than $250 a month for staging.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
I mean, I think this project's a huge project. It's gonna be bringing a lot of contractors in. I mean, the space has been there vacant, and right now, we're not actively looking for rentals in that space. So I would say if we can get $250 for that space and make a contractor happy, let's be business friendly and let's help them out for $250 a month.
Gary, did they give any information as to what they actually do pay is it a flat fee, is it a set fee, is it a, how do they determine 250?
Well, I think that obviously they have a budget to work within. I don't know, I mean, I didn't have that much of a discussion with them other than I expected that there would be questions asked by this board that I would like to be prepared to answer, seeing that they're kind of in a hurry to get a decision on it. So I asked them to give us an offer for what, in case the board did want to charge rent for that or lease for that, and what they were offering. So I can't tell you, I mean,
I understand.
they work all over the state, and I don't think, you can compare Portland or Brunswick or Bangor to Madawaska, Maine for rates.
They didn't try to tell you either that this was a cap, right? They didn't say that this is the most that this is how they do it. No, okay, all right. Any other? Go ahead, Laurie.
I'm absolutely fine with them using it. I don't know that there would, I mean, I think it's fine to say yes. I don't know that it would hurt us to wait. What are we having a board meeting next week or the week after, just to get some numbers for Dan? I mean, 250 doesn't seem like very much, and if they're offering us 250, do we counter offer? I mean, I don't think it's a, I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal, but I mean, if somebody else is concerned about the amount, then maybe we could investigate. When are they looking to set up?
Trying to find a location to set up, because I think they want to start bringing in job trailers next week or later next week.
Did you hear that, Laurie?
Yes. Yes.
Is there any other discussion? All right, then. This article would read that we accept or is it Read and Read? Their proposal of paying us $250 per month for the use of the old trailer parking lot.
Provided that it's returned to its original state
Provided that it's brought back to its original state
when they vacate.
when they leave. All in favor? All in favor? We have three votes for. What, and anybody against? And one opposed. Okay, well, this article carries.
Okay, so back to the budget board meeting date. The finance committee is going to meet next week. I'm guessing that they'll probably meet and take some time to prepare the notes to send to Natalie, to send back to us. So when would the board want to meet next for just a regular budget board meeting? So we can go over some stuff, and when would the board want to meet to discuss just the budget as a whole, if that's something you want to do? I'm assuming you would.
Well, I guess addressing our regular meeting, you have issues there that we need to take up.
Well, we have some
business there.
We have some business that we need to do outside of a budget discussion. I think it would be good if we could do that. I don't envision a super long meeting for a board meeting. And then of course there's the budget, which if the board's going to discuss the budget as a whole, top to bottom, that could take a little while, right?
So I propose maybe next Thursday we do our regular board meeting, so I'd give you a week to get out the agenda, and maybe the following Tuesday on the 20th we do that budget meeting.
And the 20th.
Just a proposal, I guess.
So
I am fine with the 15th for a regular meeting. Is the 20th okay with everybody as far as a time? I mean, are we I'm assuming the budget, the finance committee would be ready for that meeting on the 20th.
Well, the 20th is just us.
It's just you guys.
So the 15th?
The 15th is our board.
Our regular meeting?
Regular board meeting.
And the next meeting is again, but we're discussing the budget.
Right.
But just the board.
Just the board.
Just the board.
Discussing, because that's gonna take a while, like Gary said.
Okay. I was under the impression we were gonna meet with the finance committee one more time before.
Yeah, after we meet alone, we'll meet.
But
with
before
finance.
this one, I thought.
The last joint meeting of the board and the budget committee or the finance committee will be where, you know, we vote. We go down through the departments and we vote, recommended by the board, recommended by the finance committee, and, you know, we make adjustments if we have to. That's where that last meeting will, that's what's gonna happen at the last meeting. But I think that the board needs to meet by themselves to discuss the budget as a whole themselves, just like the finance committee, and then after that, we'll all get together.
I'm okay with those dates. So the 15th will be our regular meeting. The 20th will be discussing the budget. Does anybody oppose that, or anybody have any questions about that? Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Question, I would strongly suggest that the individual selectmen talk to the manager about putting an end to this Zoom nonsense, but anyway, talk to him, he's the boss, so whatever, but I think this is ridiculous.
I want to thank the board members here because this was very difficult on my part to work with the delays that are happening between the times that we can see that you're looking to comment and from the time that you're receiving that information that we're allowing you to do that. There was a real time delay there that made it very difficult for you guys to hear or respond to what I was saying, and then you weren't sure if you were the one talking or somebody else. So I thank you for your patience, and the same with our audience here. I'm sure that this was a little difficult to watch. So thank you all. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motions to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Jason?
Jason will second. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned.